Steady now.
The Force Unleashed remains perhaps one of the most ambitious Star Wars games to date, even accounting for the sheer wealth of titles based around George Lucas's space opera. With the 7th generation in full swing, LucasArts would leverage the then new Euphoria engine to bolster the power of the Force, and it felt like a winning combination. Unfortunately, this story is a tale of two halves. One side is a polished and engrossing story that lets you fulfill your Jedi power fantasy with destructive results. However, the other is an unsteady, uncertain adventure, which often forgoes these pros in favour of unflattering gameplay and tedium, which drags the whole experience down. Despite this disappointing half, it should still prove a serviceable action game for both Star Wars and sci-fi fans. Set after the events of Revenge of the Sith and taking place during the peak of the Galactic Empire's tyranny, this plot follows the exploits of Starkiller, a gifted apprentice taken secretly under the wing of Darth Vader.
A son?
Run!
Undertaking secret missions in the aid of the Empire, he is at first unquestionably loyal in his actions. However, after a turn of events the trainee doesn't see coming, the apprentice is left morally conflicted and unsure as to his path ahead, with only the guide of his mentor. The story is a really strong addition to the franchise's litany of games, mostly thanks to Sam Witwer's motion-captured performance as Starkiller, who captures multiple emotional peaks very well. It makes the core journey of this hero one worth following, and while some subplots are definitely more interesting than others, with the backstory of General Kota trumping the underdeveloped romantic subplot with Juno Eclipse, it's a strong narrative on the whole.
It seems that you are about to achieve your primary programming, Master.
Yes. Finally.
Across 9 missions, The Force Unleashed is a linear action-adventure that sees the player taking out stormtroopers, rebels, and most of the in-between. Though you always have access to a melee-focused lightsaber, the key selling point is the array of Jedi powers you earn through progression. From the start, you can utilise Force Grip and Push to grab objects and enemies and shove both backwards, respectively, allowing you to fling foes with reckless abandon. Eventually, Starkiller gains lightning capabilities, Force Repulse, which explodes a telepathic bubble, kind of like Force Push, and the ability to throw his lightsaber like a frisbee. It goes without saying that these powers can prove a ton of fun, especially when spacious levels let you really cut loose. The Euphoria engine makes the difference, adding real weight and reaction to your moves rather than just ragdoll, and it's the coolest part of this one. The trouble is, LucasArts would often eschew these strengths with mechanical and design misfires. One of the key issues stems from the lock-on system which, while appropriately relaxed to target all the enemies and objects you can interact with, sometimes proves frustrating when you're trying to attack a foe, only to strike a nearby object instead. This can also impact camera control, as focused targeting leaves you stuck when you are backed into a corner. The levels feel repetitive as you take repeat treks through a handful of locations with minor changes, and the narrow design of stages often feels suffocating to your capabilities. The physics can cause havoc at times, as enemies repeatedly knock you down without much chance for rebuttal. This is a particular issue during some boss fights, where it feels like a window of opportunity to strike never comes, and you're left taking hit after strike without much of a chance to regain your footing.
My friends will put an end to your destruction.
But The Force Unleashed really takes a nosedive during certain key moments, replacing the potential fun for absolute tedium. The struggle as you try to pull down a Star Destroyer should be incredible, but endlessly spawning TIE fighters that are tricky to hit, combined with awkward QuickTime events that lack clear indication, and the ship resetting itself after a bit of time, leave it one of the most infuriating moments of the game. The final level has 2 awful sections for double the anger. One part sees you painfully aligning mechanical rings before an instant kill laser deploys, and the window between activations is so narrow you're bound to get caught out. And you're forced to do it a second time, right after. Then, like a rotten cherry on top of a watery sundae, an awkward platforming part involving levitating blue lasers serves as a poor segment before the finale. It's these parts, and other frustrations like bugs that see you getting stuck in the environment and disappearing health meters from bosses leaving you in the dark, which really let the game down, and undermine its core strengths. The handful of levels here will likely take most players around 8 hours to beat, which is pretty brisk. There is some incentive for return runs though. Bonus objectives encourage you to seek out certain enemies and objects in each level, earn a certain amount of points by killing foes in quick succession, and Jedi holocrons are scattered throughout each level which reward upgrade points, different colour lasers to equip, and lightsaber crystals which buff certain skills. A 4th unlockable difficulty also becomes available to you after an initial completion, though be warned, the frustrations you experience are amplified here. LucasArts would take advantage of the aesthetic strengths of Star Wars, delivering a potent presentation. The visuals are pretty strong, with environments proving modestly detailed, and the lighting is pretty superb, colouring the different locations in a distinctive hue. The clean lighting of the TIE Fighter factory, contrasted with the grainy yellow hue of the Raxus Prime junkyards, is supremely distinctive. Some of the enemy designs are rendered better than others, with the oversized Rancors proving the highlight.
Yeah, I've noticed.
The sound benefits from strong voice acting, stellar music which nails the key tropes you've come to expect while adding twists to more familiar tracks, and potent sound effects which add impact to every saber crunch, thrown object and lightning attack. The only shame is some bugs, including stutters and sound cutting out which diminish the shine somewhat. Ultimately, Star Wars The Force Unleashed is one of those games that sets a solid enough foundation, but has a few too many missteps to be a real killer app. The franchise has certainly seen worse games, but this one feels disappointing. When everything clicks, Starkiller's exploits prove incredibly fun and anarchic, including some fantastic use of Force powers. But for every bright spot, it's followed by a weakly designed set piece, a frustrating sequence, or technical issues. Fans of the long-standing sci-fi series may still glean enough positives from this to enjoy it, and those looking for another dose of sci-fi action could be persuaded too. But for those who like more consistency to their games, this one is perhaps better left on the junk heap.